Yeah, Alyssa Milano has called for all progressive and pro-choice women to go on a hashtag sex strike.
Hashtag sex strike.
Hashtag sex strike until their reproductive rights are no longer under attack. And men everywhere celebrate, but also celebrate.
Well, right. Celebrate, and celebrate. I spelled that really wrong.
Celebrate.
Yeah. Yeah. So because of all of the laws that have been going on, and like the new laws, the heartbeat laws, the anti-abortion laws,
Right.
Alyssa Milano has now said, you don't get any of our body until we get full body autonomy back. Her exact tweet in which she was announcing this read, our reproductive rights are being erased. Until women have legal control over our own bodies, we just cannot risk pregnancy. Join me by not having sex until we get bodily autonomy back. I'm calling for a hashtag sex strike. Pass it on.
Yeah.
She is
pass it on.
Literally advocating for what Christian conservatives have been advocating for longer than
forever.
Longer than I've been alive.
Since the New Testament. So we've got actually since before the New Testament. So you have a progressive pro-choice person with a vagina. You can't say woman anymore. Or cis woman. And basically calling for the abortion debate to be ended by virtue of the only women who would have gotten abortions just not having sex and thereby not conceiving any children to abort. So,
right.
This is a big pro-life win. And they say we're not going to do it until we get our bodily autonomy back. To which the Christian right said, "Okay,
deal. That's fine.
That's a deal. We'll keep having children. We'll vote for more of this."
We here at Muddied Water, being the journalists that we are, being just on top of everything, we reached out to Dave Bugliari, who most of you probably go, who? But this is this is Alyssa Milano's husband. We reached out to him, but he was unavailable for comment. But he was witness purchasing hand lotion and Kleenex. So I think he's kind of on board.
She has a husband?
She does, since 2009.
This man, who I presume is also a progressive pro-choicer. I don't know that, but I would assume that.
You would think.
One would think. Meanwhile, the breeders are banging it out twice a night to celebrate this new law, I presume. You have a guy who is against this, I would assume, and he's not getting any.
Right.
Because bodily autonomy.
Right.
It's one thing to say, I refuse to have sex with Governor Brian Kemp or any of the people that passed this rule. That makes sense. Or anyone who voted for Brian Kemp or whatever. It's another thing to say, I'm not going to have sex with my own husband who agrees with me.
Right. And my thing on my thing on this is like, I already know the answer to this, but is she legitimately not going to have sex with her husband?
No.
Right.
Well, maybe. I don't know. Maybe. You know what?
No way. There is no way.
Unless she wasn't already, and this is now, honey, I was going to tell you before, but I'm on hashtag sex strike. And there's one an opportune moment. I was really just following this legislation as it was going through.
Right. I mean,
the assembly there.
Now, all of this legislation, all of it, whether you're talking about Alabama, whether you're talking about Georgia, whether you're talking about here in Florida, wherever, it's not going to end until it goes to the Supreme Court at this point.
Right. So, there's going to be federal judges staying any attempt to enforce this. And by the way, this actually doesn't come into power until it doesn't take effect until January of 2020. The way it's written, and again, that assumes that a judge isn't gonna say no. We're not gonna do this until we've had a look at it. Which is, I would say, I mean, the smart money is on that happening until the Supreme Court, just because this is such a big change in precedent, until the Supreme Court takes a look at it. And for all the people that are super confident that, you know, the MAGA Supreme Court is going to, you know, rubber stamp this into law because, you know, because it's MAGA SCOTUS and, you know, Trump's appointed 2 of them and technically it has a 6-3 conservative majority. There are plenty of times that conservative majorities unravel when the case hits the docket. More on that later. But I wouldn't be all that confident that it's not going to get struck down, especially some of the provisions in this rule. So it's one thing to say, okay, so there's a few things. The biggest one I would say is that as it's written, and I haven't read this law, but supposedly as it's written, if a pregnant woman goes to another state and gets an abortion in that period of time after the baby would have a heartbeat, then she can be tried for manslaughter or murder when she gets back home.
Right.
And anyone who assisted her in doing that can be tried for, I guess, accessory to the crime or whatever, complicity in murder. Putting aside the question of whether states are even going to cooperate with that in giving information to verify that they came and did this. And then the question of whether HIPAA would even allow an abortion clinic to tell a state whether someone got an abortion without the woman's consent in another state that doesn't recognize that law. It's basically saying you and your child are the property of the state. So if I were to go to a state where it's legal to, let's say, smoke weed or whatever, when I come back to South Carolina, I'm not going to be charged for anything because I didn't do anything in their jurisdiction. The only way they can say that I broke a law by doing it somewhere else is if I'm their actual property. So that's the thing. If nothing else, I think that even if they end up upholding the general law, I think that part's going to get struck down for many reasons.
Yeah, you are probably correct on that. They will probably say you can't say you can't charge somebody who did it in a different state because you don't own the people.
I can't see how that gets enforced.
You can only govern what happens inside the borders, and you cannot force people to not leave the borders.
Right. You can say this isn't legal here. If you do this here, you could say I'm going to an extreme. If you brush your teeth, we'll charge you with murder. Okay. I can go somewhere else and brush my teeth, and if I come back, they can't charge me with murder because I didn't do it there. I'm not under their jurisdiction.
Right.
Obviously, brushing your teeth isn't murder, but I'm just saying an extreme.
You're killing tons of bacteria. You're murdering tons of bacteria.
It's a genocide.
It's massive genocide.
It's a massive. Well, I don't want to give them any ideas, but if that were to happen,
those are single-celled organisms that deserve the right to live.
Oh wow, they have thoughts too, man. They have thoughts too.
We're going to make them endangered if we continue to brush our teeth.
This is a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope. It starts with abortion, and before you know it, you can't have pest control. It's coming. No. It's not coming. Not. So anyway, so the point of that is I'm pretty sure that'll be struck down. Hey, everybody. You know what's more fun than this?
Subscribe.